Welcome back everyone to my Let's Play of Dragon Warrior 3 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Even though there was a tragedy last episode in that we learned that the elven princess Anne and her human lover had passed away, one good thing that did come out of it was that the elf queen lifted the curse that put all the people in Noaniels to sleep, so we helped them out in that way. So now it's time for us to continue our attempt at helping people by helping out the king of Romaly, who gave us the quest to try to find his golden crown, which was stolen by the thief Kandar. We were told that Kandar fled to the Tower of Shampane to the west of Nave, so we're going to warp to Nave and then just walk to the west and come to this tower here, just like in the area of like where Spain would be in the real world. So, it was interesting, we could use the return spell to warp right from inside the castle Romaly to Nave. If you try to use the warp spell though, indoors in future Dragon Quest games, your character like hits their head on the ceiling. That's why you have to have the outside spell, so. This is the notorious Tower of Shampane. Now, they have, you have to use the outside spell too, like when you're inside of a building like this here, but like in terms of towns, you can be inside a house and still use the return spell. You just can't use it in a building like this, a dungeon. You first need to use outside, so just because we were able to teleport out of a castle with return spell doesn't mean that when we're in an actual dungeon, even if it is a castle, that we'll be able to use the return spell. So this tower, it's not too difficult. It's much easier than the Dream Ruby Cave, but I like to save it for after the Dream Ruby Cave, because if you can finish the Dream Ruby Cave, then this dungeon is basically just really easy. There are some new enemies in here, but the main threat is going to come from the boss, Kandar, and his henchmen. So, we can finally run into a healer here. I mentioned that these guys, when we met them outside, that they could summon a healer. And that's exactly what this one does. So, we finish off the Rogue Knight, and now his healer's just hanging out by himself here. So, healers ain't that much of a problem. As long as you can deal a bunch of damage to them, they pretty much just sit around and cast heal. So if you're not dealing a lot of damage to them, they may heal themselves up, but at this point, at the levels that we're at, taking a healer down isn't that troublesome. So, which is good, because if they appear in groups with other monsters, we can take the healer out real quick, so it doesn't heal the other monsters. That's always a good strategy. If you're fighting monsters and one of them has a heal spell, try to take out that healer, because otherwise they'll undo all the damage that you did to the other enemies. So it's pretty much the same enemies that were outside here. This is one of the new enemies though, the Demon Toadstool. So it can be kind of annoying because they can put you to sleep just like those other deadly mushrooms back in the Ruby Cave, the Dream Ruby Cave that we explored last time. They put out a sweet breath, and that could put your characters to sleep, and it has a pretty decent chance of succeeding. You see, it puts 75% of our characters to sleep there. So the sleep breath is much more accurate than the poison breath that some of the other enemies were using. So I guess if you run into a group of, say, the venom caterpillars and the mushrooms, take out the mushrooms first so they don't put you to sleep, because sleep is a little bit more deadly than the poison. Poison will damage you over time, but sleep will basically mean that you can't take turns, and the enemy will just have more turns to attack you without retaliation. And when you're asleep, you can obviously take advantage of the parry glitch, or the parry trick that the manual tells you about. So your characters will be taking full damage from any enemy that hits them while they're asleep. So, and unlike future games, or like some Final Fantasy games, getting hit while you're asleep doesn't automatically wake you up. hitting a character is only good for knocking them out of the confusion status. That's why the game gives you the option to select your own party members to hit. When you do the fight command, you just instead of selecting the enemy, you press up and go to the arrow above the enemy name, and that allows you to target your party members. So if one of your characters gets confused, like say a heavy hitter like Prince Ernie gets confused, you can, whack him out of his confusion state. Whoa, get a load of these weirdos. Yep, we better go tell the boss. So these are Kandar's henchmen, and they're gonna run up to tell their boss about us. At least we'll know we're in the right place. And there's Kandar and his 3 henchmen. You've done well to get this far. I gotta hand it to you. Just one thing, ain't no one gonna catch us. See ya, suckers, haha. See, there was 2 treasure chests up there? We try to go up and get those treasure chests. They're both empty. And Kandar and his henchmen are gone. But hey, there's an open hole here. Let's go into that hole in the wall. And we end up 2 floors below on the 4th floor. And we get to fight Kandar and his 3 henchmen. This is an optional dungeon. You don't have to do it like the Dream Movie dungeon was also optional. But this one, if you skip it, it's a little bit more interesting because you can run into you have to run into Kandar and fight him again as part of the progression in the game. He's part of the quest to get a ship that we need to sail around the world and do explore the rest of the world. So you have to meet him a second time, which can be interesting because if you skip this first time, he'll talk with you as if he met you. So you can actually meet Kandar out of order. You can theoretically run into him a 3rd time, but not if you don't fight him. You find him in jail later on in the town, way late in the game. I've never done it where I kept him around and then met him in jail and then came back here to see if he'd still be here even though he's in jail. So I never skipped it that much. But that might be interesting to do one day, to see if if he's in jail, if he can come back here from skipping this quest, then he'll be around. So the Kandar fight, he and his henchmen can hit pretty hard. So we want to start off by having Tennison cast the Increase spell. That'll increase our physical defense. All Kandar and Kandar's henchmen do is hit you physically. So we just want to increase our defensive abilities as much as possible. We try to use the slow there to lower Kandar's agility. Didn't work out though, unfortunately. That way, in case somebody did get put to critical hit range, we'd be able to outspeed Kandar and heal up before he went. But as is, we just decided, second time I just ended up casting another increase spell. Because Kandar's henchmen appear not as a group, but as 3 individual characters, you can't hit them with a group attack like Fireball, so the only useful offensive magic spell would be the Bang spell, because it hits every enemy. So that's interesting that the game did that. They probably purposely did that to make this battle a little bit tougher, so you couldn't hit Kandar's henchmen with a group attack. Otherwise, we could have had Prince Ernie and Tennison group up with their Fireball spells to take out the henchmen. You want to take out the henchmen first because they have less hit points, so you'll be able to finish them off before you take on Kandar. So that way you're only really worrying about 1 attack rather than 4. So the henchmen fall much quicker than Kandar. So, but Kandar will fall himself after one. He's all by himself, so not too hard, especially when you get those increases up to increase your defense. It basically just shuts down his entire offense. So he pleads us to let him go. If we say no, he's like, "Don't talk to me like that, forgive me." And you're basically stuck in a loop, like you were with the princess in the first game, when she says you have to marry her. And you have to. So yeah, but thou must situation they call it on TV tropes. So here we get the Golden Crown. Now, we don't have to return the Golden Crown. The Golden Crown we can actually keep for the rest of the game, and it's a decent set of headgear for wizards. Anybody can use it, but the wizards are really limited in the amount of headgear they can use. They can only wear the leather hat, which you can buy. And the other helmet they got is a magic hat that can be dropped by enemies. We want to pick them up eventually. We're going to fight grind on those enemies to get that hat, because it's a good piece of equipment. It has better defense than the crown, and it also has cuts MP consumption, so we're definitely going to want that hat. But you won't be able to get that until much later in the game, probably mid-game. So you can theoretically hold on to the golden crown here until mid-game. There's no thing. The only thing is, if you want to keep it though, you won't be able to save your game here in Romaly, because as soon as you go talk to the king here, he's going to say, hey, you got the golden crown, awesome. And he doesn't give you the option to save your game, but he does give you the option to take the throne, which is really, really kind of interesting. So we get to see Prince Ernie become King Ernie. Unfortunately, though, that means that he won't be able to continue adventuring, so it's not going to be a long reign for Prince Ernie, even though I'm sure he would be a great ruler. So once again, we have a no-win situation here. If we say no, he just keeps saying no. You have to, you have to, you have to. So yeah, we're stuck being king for a short time. So we'll see what it's like being king for a day in next episode. Take care, have a good one. Bye.